with all that said, we're back to the wiring harness connections. I've taken this apart from the wiring harness like I showed you earlier, and we're calling this the short side, being it that there's only going to be 5 wires on this side of this block here. So now that I've just highlighted what each one of these wires are for, we can set this one off to the side and get rid of it, because we know now that the purple goes to the starter solenoid and that tan one, it goes to the proportioning valve to let you know when you're low on brake fluid. This green one under here, that goes to your water temperature. And then this one here looks black, but see, it's pink. That went to the HEI. And then, like I said, this brown with the white stripe, I don't know what it is, and I've never seen it before, but it does have a factory connection on it. So I'll investigate that later on and figure out what that is, and maybe put it in as a footnote at the end of this video. But moving on, we got this out. So we know what these wires do, and we know what this part of the connection harness is for and what it does. So we can set this to the side and then move on to the big side. All right, everybody, we are on the big side of the wiring harness terminal that plugs into the fuse box. This is the side with the 10 pins. So there's 10 corresponding wires on the other side of this. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna start right here where my thumb is on this tan wire, okay? And while we're doing the tan wire, we're also gonna be doing this wire right here, this light green wire. So the tan and the light green wire, and you follow that all the way around, okay? And you snake it around here, you go up and around. You end up right here. This is your headlight plug. This is where the headlights would be. Now, go off to the side of that, and you see there's a ground. This ground plugged into what is called the voltage regulator. We'll get to that in just a minute. Right now, we're looking at the tan and the green wires. And what I want you to also notice is that the tan and green wires make their run all the way around the truck. Got the wires strung out here. They come all the way around. And as you're starting to see, there's the other side. That's the other headlight plug. And then there's the ground, which would have been grounded to the radiator stay. Okay, so one thing to kind of remember when you're doing this is don't get your wires disorientated, because you don't want your right side flashers being on the left side of the vehicle. So the easy way to remember that, when you get all this pulled out and you got it just laying there, the longer vehicles go to the passenger side. See, the short ones, so right here, this is short wires. And as I said, they plugged into the voltage regulator. And the voltage regulator is on the left side of the truck. If you're sitting in the driver's seat, it is on the left side of the truck where the alternator is. So now that we've covered the green, that little light green, and this tan wire, we're going to move on down. And you see that it's been cut on. And this is a brown wire. So I'm going to follow that brown wire out. You would come to this point, and you see here, that's one of those GM soldered connection deals that had that real sticky stuff. That's what's on my fingers now. It's like a tar-like substance. I guess it was kind of like waterproofing to keep the connection from corroding and creating a short. But when you follow that brown wire around, you come to this, and then you can see how it's splitting off, and back here it comes to rest right here. And this is a side marker on the pickup truck. It also blinks. And then the brown is also down here in the bumper marker where it flashes. So there's signal lights. So and that's over here on the driver's side. You follow from the spot where GM did their solder connection. You see I'm wiggling the wire, and then it's this one here. So it travels all the way around, and then it ends up over here with these wires. And why they're soldered and tagged together is because they need to function at the same time when the flashers go on. So we're gonna go back here. Next, we have this thick brown wire. It's a thick brown wire. And when you follow him around, he snakes through all this nonsense. The thick brown wire ends up right here. And what that is the voltage regulator. And the voltage regulator, there's the brown wire. The voltage regulator has no use for me. That's when alternators were externally regulated. Now they have internally regulated alternators. They also have one wire alternators. So this box in my application is not going to be of any use at all. And we're going to get rid of those wires, and we'll go over that as well. Back to the harness connection. So now we've covered the thick brown wire that went to the voltage regulator, and I'm getting down in here, and you have two sets of wires. You have two blue wires. You got one light blue wire, and I'm sorry, they are a bit dusty. There's the light blue, and then next to it you have the dark blue. We're going to start with the light blue that's underneath this thick brown. So when you follow the light blue wire out, and he travels and he snakes along, you come up through here, and then it goes there, and that comes out on this side of the blinker. So this is the one that would be down in the bumper when you turn the signal light on, and the flashers. This would be flashing on the driver's side. If you notice, that light blue wire runs back, and then it makes another one of those GM connections, and that connection is leading to this fender marker so that it can perform its duty. When the flashers go on, it flashes at the same time as the turn signal down there in the bumper. One note, the 67 C-10 did not have fender markers on the front fender or the rear quarter panel in the bedside. After that, they all had the side markers. Now back to the wire and harness connection. We're on to this dark blue wire. We just did the light blue, we did the dark blue. The light blue went to the driver's side. If you're sitting in the truck seat, the light blue wires made the left side of the vehicle's lights flash. It's turn signals. Dark blue, you follow it all the way around, as we've been doing. We're just going to skip over and around, and then it comes down, and you see it's still in here, and it's right there, and then it's inside some of that tar because GM has their solder in there. But then it exits and it comes out to here, which this is on the passenger side or the right side of the vehicle if you're sitting in the seat. This is in the flasher that's in the bumper of the pickup truck. It's tagged in because it also operates this guy here, which is in the front fender on the right side of the vehicle if you're sitting in the driver's seat. Next up is that big, thick green wire there. There's no doubt about that. You can see that. And he runs around, all the way around, and then he comes out here to our horn. There are two horns, but I'm just having the one up here. And there's the connection that it makes into the back of the horn. All right, everybody, we are at the final two wires in our fuse box wire and harness connector. And I'm going to talk about these both at the same time because they're for the same thing. And what you have is a black, solid black, and then you have the black with the white. Again, these are for the same thing, and I'll explain it. So the black wire, if you traced it all the way around, it went all the way around the front of the vehicle over to the passenger side where it made its connection. This one here, the black with the white stripe, comes out and it runs along the side of the driver's side fender where it makes its connection. And we're going to follow that around. And then you get to this point here first. So remember, we just did the red wire, the power wire, come out. And then it's in the tar paper, and you had the wires coming out that has been soldered together. One of the wires coming out of this is the black and the white stripe. This black and white stripe wire is for the ammeter. And what that is basically the nowadays volt meter. So inside here, there was a little fuse. You put that in there. And this is tied into the power source because that's what gave the ammeter its charge to let you know whether it was charging or discharging. So when you follow the solid black wire all the way around the truck, it would come out over here on the passenger side, and it would have that same end boot with a fuse in there, just like over on the driver's side, except for on the end where the wires would be, they were plugged into a junction box. So there was a junction box on the side, on the passenger side at the top of the fender, where this wire plugged in, and then a wire from the battery came up from the power side to the positive side of the battery, came up, plugged in, and then you also had this red wire, which is the power wire that leads all the way back around into the wiring harness box. So this and the other end to this, plus a wire off of the positive battery terminal, plugged into a little square box, a junction box that was held in with a metal tapping screw on the side of the fender, on the passenger side of the fender of the pickup truck. And once again, this black and white wire will not be needed. Earlier I spoke about getting rid of the voltage regulator and the wires that are connected to that. So if you remember, the red power wire that comes out of the fuse box where you have that connection terminal on the outside of the pickup truck on the firewall, the red wire led all the way around up to here. And at this point, there was this black weatherproof tar tape securing this and these two red wires, plus the black wire with the white stripe that went to the ammeter, which we're getting rid of him also. So I've already cut the wires free, as you can see. So with that done, all that goes right here with this, and then you can simply just take that out of the equation, and then there's nothing left to do with that as far as the red power wire. It would be my suggestion, and this is what I'm going to do, I would cut it here, cut it there, strip the wire back, and resolder it back together, and then wrap it up with the shrink wrap.